take care of yourself. You come first over a job.
Howdy do, Rob.
Hey, how are you, Carol? Good to see you again, as always.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah. So we are recording this in May, although it won't go live until next month, June. But as many people know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we want to be mindful of that. And that is something that you're incredibly passionate about for many, many reasons. So we thought it would be a good idea to spend some time and talk about mental health in the workplace. So why don't you kick it off?
I will. So Carol, I've got so much, so many stories in my head about this, as you can imagine. But what comes to mind is, we all went through that pandemic together, and I was over in London, as you know, and trying to lead that country on Zoom was another whole great experience that I was able to have and take advantage of and take with me. But you know, during that time, we certainly did a little over rotation on making sure that I always had, as you know, my servant leader principles are always servant
Mm-hmm.
leadership is first and foremost, and it's how I lead. It's how I've always led. And but I really did rotate more on the empathy and to make sure that everybody was okay. There were a lot of conversations about, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is your family okay? Do you need time? Now we can over rotate to safe rooms and and meditation pods and all that. That's great. Everybody has their own thing, and I don't begrudge them that. And that's just the way it is. I'm not kind of in that corporate world anymore, so I'm not sure what they're doing. But I can say that I can say that mental health awareness is key to all health,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's getting to a point where I say often that we started with a pandemic, medical pandemic with COVID. We've now morphed into a mental health pandemic. I believe that
Mm,
with all my heart, because I see the studies. I'm in that business now. I speak about that all the time, and I see the studies. Like 21% of adults are experiencing mental illness right now. It's equivalent to 50 million Americans.
wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, and that's reported, right? A lot of people don't want to talk
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I bet it's even higher than that.
right? And then you've got 15% of adults have had a substance use disorder in the past year.
Wow.
Now, what's crazy about that is over 93% of them did not receive treatment. So it's still going, right? They're perpetuating and it's getting worse. Being a past, survivor of addiction,
Mm-hmm.
I know that, these numbers are so low, right? The people are suffering. Addiction's gone up, depression. We talked about the Harvard Medical Study
Right.
that I cite often that was done in 2017. The lack of your ability to build resilience or the lack of your ability to focus on self-care and mental health leads to chronic stress.
Mm-hmm.
And that chronic stress, people don't understand what that chronic stress actually does. And in business, Carol, I used to say, oh, I'm stressed out. I love that. I love that I'm stressed out. I'm like in the game. I'm in the game. I'm ready to go. I'm stressed, but it's okay. It's what I do. It's who I am. And I'm like, really? That's who I am? And what that stress leads to is, we know heart disease, high blood pressure. But it also leads to depression, anxiety,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
addiction. I mean, the list goes on, and you see these studies all the time. And it's up to the individual to be an advocate for themselves. I am so into that. I get it. But corporations have to make sure they have the right resources as well. As I say, and I'll leave you with this, I'll turn it over to you. The last thing I'll say, which is I think the most important thing, is we need to normalize this conversation. That's the key. From above and down. There was somebody that spoke recently at a seminar. They said, they were kind of opening up on a Zoom call with the team and talking about their struggles. And the CEO private messaged her on Zoom and said, I really am grateful for what you said. I feel seen right now. He's going through a lot of the same stuff. Now, wouldn't it be cool if he just got on that Zoom and said, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's got to start from the top. So go ahead, Carol. That's what I think.
Well, I'm going to start with that point because I think that's really important that he didn't feel comfortable doing that, and it's because they don't have a culture of feedback. Right? This is one of the big things I talk about in my business. And A culture of feedback, again, for those who are hearing this for the first time, is it has to be generated by the CEO, but the CEO has to example it out, right? They have to continually do it until people really believe it. But what it is, it's where anybody can give feedback below to the side or above without any concern for, negative repercussions. Now, I will say you have to learn how to communicate to do that effectively, because you just can't, you can't be an asshole to somebody and think that's okay, right? So along with building a culture of feedback is building a culture of how we communicate, right? As you know, that's one of the talks that I give. And I think that I can personally empathize, relate to some of these things that affect us negatively, right? And they talk about toxic productivity and some of the signs that lead to toxic productivity, which of course affect your mental health, right? So feeling guilty, anxious, or restless when you're not working. I'll put my hand up for that. Having relationships with family and friends on the fritz. I'm not on that one, but I would like to say that I'm pretty sure I've been there before, right?
Yeah, you're a
Um,
good friend, Carol.
right. Lacking self-care. Yeah, a lot of people do that. One of my best girlfriends, I know that she just does not take good enough care of herself because of her job, right? And the stress that the owner puts on her. Allowing work and personal life to overlap constantly. I can empathize with that. Working through break times to get ahead. I think we talked about this once on one of our shows. I, for years, used to bring my lunch to my desk and eat it. I don't do that anymore. Occasionally, but I rarely do that. I'd rather just take a half an hour, 40 minutes, sit downstairs, read, whatever, sit out on the deck, whatever it might be, right? Um, Focusing is difficult. Procrastination sets in. Yeah, I can definitely empathize with that. Sacrificing sleep to get more done and getting sick more often. And you had mentioned that people seeking help. So I guess the question is, what kind of help should people be seeking, right? Myself, I turned to meditation. And that's great, but it didn't solve my problem completely, right? So, here I am to say it. I'm gonna put it out there. I went on an antidepressant, anti-anxiety. I didn't want to do it because I'm like, really? Do I really need to take drugs to help myself feel better? But the reality is, for me, I'm pretty type A. So all this just exacerbates it for me. The stress. I work out regularly. I'm in the gym 4 days a week, and then I'm on the ranch with my horses at least a couple of times a week. So I'm moving around a lot, and I again, I've meditated. I've done so much, and I finally said to my doctor, "Listen, I hate to even do this, but I need a little help because for me, it's pretty situational."
Well, and I think the issue really is getting help and reaching out. People think that is sometimes a weakness, right? You were even hesitant to tell you a story right
Yeah,
there. Your body language is a little different.
yeah,
You were like, "Ugh, yeah," instead of being proud of it and saying, you know what, I had the courage
hmm,
to get help.
yeah,
When I first went into the rooms of AA 31 years ago, yeah, 31 years
mm,
ago, was that a weakness or a strength?
yeah.
That's a
I
strength.
would say so. Yeah.
Um, but some people see that as and that CEO, right? That private messaged, right? What kind of impact would he have had or she have had, whoever it was? What kind of impact would they have had if they got on the camera and they looked in the eyes of all the people on that Zoom call and said, "Wow, I feel seen right
That's
now,
right.
and I want you to know that I can relate to these issues, and we all have them." And I think the whole company would have been
Hmm.
different in that moment in time
Yeah.
to change the state of everybody. And I think it's really important to do that. I think we have got to normalize those kinds of conversations to be strength. And that's that's
Yep.
that's my
Yep.
mission, right?
Yep.
Is to say, look, guys aren't talking about this stuff for sure. Men's mental health is out of control, right? We got 77% of the suicides are men.
Mm.
There's so much going on with the guys these days that are trying to make it, trying to be masculine, trying to be strong, trying to prove that they're masculine and strong, and they're getting all of this self-care stuff they're putting on the back burner. They're working longer, they're trying to make ends meet, and then you put in the economy with that. We all know what's going on, and people are struggling right now. So yeah, they're working more jobs. We talked about that the last episode. What was that?
Mhm.
The overemployment.
Yeah.
you know don't you think that adds to stress?
Well, I would think
you know
so, yeah.
I mean, it has to, right? um so that's what's going on here. But look, I'm a proponent. I was there. You knew me back when I was that person that I was in it to get, and I was working 24 hours a day. I was just, that's what I was doing. And uh, you know, uh, and I hope that no one has a life event like I had to change their perspective. But it is time to change perspectives. It's time to look at, how do I fulfill my purpose here, whatever that is, and how do I make an impact and leave a legacy on the people around me and the community I live in and the world I live in. And that's when a lot of this stuff will go away, because now you're living a purpose. You're living with a real purpose of what you want to do versus what you have to do. It's what you want to do versus what you have to do.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great, Rob. I think one of the things I think about as I'm listening to you is, are people really living their purpose, right? And I mean, I know that's something I'm really committed to personally. Um, does life get in the way? Of course, circumstances, do get in the way from time to time.
Right.
But, I saw somebody post on, for example, on LinkedIn, somebody that I'm connected to, who said how important it is to, give, 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 because it always comes back to you. And I don't believe that necessarily. I do believe in giving. That's the point I do believe, because I do that a lot. The time I spend with people, I think it's a mitzvah. So for those, non-tribal members, that's a good deed, really. It's a mitzvah to do for other people. And, at some point we can only hope that the karma brings it back to us. But you don't do it, we've talked about manipulation. You don't do it in order to get something in return. I mean, I can look over my career and think, God, look at all the things I've done for people. And so, I mean, most of that never came back to me. It will, it won't. Sometimes it will, and I think that there, may be with some people a point at which they're like, gosh, I've given so much, nothing's coming back to me. Maybe I should stop doing that.
Yeah, I mean, so me, I'm a firm believer the other way. That
Yeah,
I think that when you look at your world around you, and I want to be a force for good, whatever that
right.
means. And that dictates it. If it and by the way, it's giving and getting. I mean, I certainly have received in my life, and the universe has given me and blessed me.
Mhm.
I say often I'm a man that's blessed beyond measure. You
Mhm.
heard me say that, and I believe that. But it's a mindset for me. It's not everything I do, but it has to be a mindset. And my mindset is to give versus get. My mindset is to be a servant to others. Now, that's a mindset, and over and above that, life happens, shit happens, and it comes at you, and sometimes you get, sometimes you give, sometimes you're just trying to survive, and boom, boom, boom. But have the right mindset. For me, that's what gets me on the track for good mental health. Living in a state of gratitude,
Mhm.
good mental health.
Right.
Studies have shown, right? If you're in a state of gratitude, the brain, by the way, caveman brain, sorry, version 1.0, cannot process fear or anger if you are in a state of gratitude.
Mhm.
So why not start your day at least in that state as a good foundation for strong mental health? Those are the things that I believe in. Now, shit comes at you, and that's the way it is, right? And life happens. Then you got to get yourself back in that
Yeah.
state, and you know, but you've got to have a mindset of that as you're living your life. That's what I
I
believe.
agree. And I think what people don't maybe often realize is that it is an ebb and a flow. You're not, you just, you have a bad day, and sometimes it's just really hard to get out of that rut and say, oh, I'm so grateful. I'm having the shittiest day ever. But, my fridge went out last week. I mean, the good news is it's only the compressor fan, thank God, because, otherwise it would have been a considerably more expensive repair. Or if it was dead, 24 years after I bought it, it would cost twice as much to replace it now. So I was kind of depressed about that. And then I just, and then of course the other part of me says, oh, thank God it's only $600. It could have been so much worse, right? Could have been so much worse. And, so that's how it is for me. Sometimes I'll be like, oh God, why did this happen? And then I'm like, okay, we got to look at the glass half full, not the glass half empty. I think that's a little bit of, kind of how I interpret what you're saying also, right? I mean, we do have to push through it. I've said it before, being inside your own head is like being behind enemy lines. So, the more that you stay in your head and think, oh, woe is me, wah, 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 right? We've all got circumstances, all of us.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and it's funny because I play a lot of golf now in my retirement, and
Yeah.
yeah, I play with the same. I play with a lot of the same guys. We have a great group. I love them so much, and you hit a bad shot, and you're like, oh, come on, and they're always giving me a hard time. Hey, you're a motivational speaker. Well, you can't be down.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Welcome to reality. That ain't true.
yeah, I'm human,
Yeah.
right? That's cool, and I think one of the real tenets of my purpose now is to really bring, and if you'll allow me, I mean, I want to do it again because this is the AAA formula, right? And
Right.
I say this is really hard work, and it's not something that is like real easy, and just do this and you'll be fine. But that AAA formula that sort of came about through going through my life and then talking to so many people around the world that had adversity in all kinds of ways. And how do you do that? Mental health. It's the accept, right? The appreciate, and then the assess.
Hmm.
And if those three steps, and it's amazing how many people are coming up to me saying, I just used that and it worked, and I did some variation of that, and yes, and I think that whatever works for you, it doesn't really matter, right? If the AAA, if you accept where you are is where you're supposed to be, trade in your expectations for acceptance, right? That's going to
Hmm.
happen. And life's going to happen. Traffic's going to happen. You know, a line at Starbucks is going to happen. Who gives a shit? Life is
Yeah.
life. And then go into that appreciation mode like you did, right? And if you do have appreciation, I mean, the health benefits are amazing, and I
Hmm.
just went through some of
Yeah.
those. And again, you go in and out, ebb and flow. And then that last day of assess, when you pull back and you really assess what your options are, and then from there you move forward with new purpose and perspective because you have some clarity if you do the first two steps. And it's like it's and again, I just spoke the other day and I said, this is not rocket scientist because
It's real.
I'm a pretty
Right.
simple guy, right? I'm just a regular guy that, I'm not, this is not a doctor's opinion. And it's like, if you keep doing that, then you can stack that adversity, then you can start to get good mental health. So I wanted to put that out there because I think it's really important. And I think people are starting to react to it to say, it's easy to understand, difficult to get into, to practice. But, it's not going to be easy, but it's worth the effort.
Yeah, and what I really love about your AAA formula, Rob, is, I mean, that's something that, just because my training goes so far back, I never thought about it in those terms, but it's always something I've practiced, right? But for somebody who's never done this work, I think it's great, right? So the refrigerator breaks. I'm out of bed at 5:30 on Thursday morning. I go downstairs, open up the refrigerator, and I'm like, oh shit. So instead of going to the gym, it took me several trips. And right here's the appreciate. I accepted that. The appreciate. Thank God I've got another refrigerator in the garage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I moved everything into that. The freezer, because stuff was starting to melt in my freezer. I'm like, and then I was like, oh crap! Now every time I want to go get some food, I have to go down to the garage because my house is a split level. And then I thought, oh, but guess what? I get more steps in. I mean, really, it's sometimes it's just as simple as that. Instead of because my sort of thrown way of being is to I come from a family where my father was such a great guy, but he was a negative Nelly. So, I got that growing up, right? So it's always been something I've had to fight against. I mean, I'm aware that it's there, so I have to push through that, and I have to consciously do that, right? So I'm thinking, okay, where's the sunny side of this? Okay, so I'll add more steps to my daily count. Yay!
I love that. I love it. And, and I one of my favorite quotes from, my mentor, Tony Robbins, is "Life is happening for you, not to you."
Correct.
And I love that quote. I mean, he's got hundreds of them, right? But that always sticks with me. To put a bow around this segment, Carol, it's like, look, you know, take care of yourself. You come first over a job. You know, my dad used to say, "You're not doing brain surgery here." You know, and and I retired in January, and guess what? That company's still in business. Isn't that amazing? I mean, they don't need me to be in business. you know, and
You're just not
take
that
care of
important.
yourself. No, no. What's important
Yeah.
is your
Yeah.
health. What's important is the people that you love. That you tell them that every day because they could be gone in a
Yeah.
second. I know that too well. And I'll tell you what, that's the priority. Let's love each other. Let's love ourselves enough that we don't get into this treadmill. And we have a purpose. That's great. Um, and that's what it's all about. And you come first. You have to come first.
Well, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others, not effectively, at least.
No, it's the old airplane story, right? Put the mask on yourself before you put it on
Right.
others. I mean, if you've learned nothing else from this 20 some minutes, there you go. Listen to the airplane message every time you get on a plane and apply it to your own life.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Good.
Good.
I got nothing more.
I'm good. I hope people get something out of it.
Yeah. And as always, our contact information will be in the show notes. So, neither you nor I are, health professionals, but we have
Right.
a lot of experience in life. If anybody has anything to reach out, reach out and
Yeah.
to talk to
Yeah.
us about anything. And we're always there for you. Ciao for now. Thanks for listening to Authentically Successful After Hours. I'm your host, Carol Schultz.
And I'm your co-host, Rob Swymer. Hey, don't forget to click follow to hear more. And please leave us an honest review and rating so we can continue to improve and bring you more great stories.
Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.